That would be me, Adrian. When I was 34 years old, I had no intention of writing this, but following what took place at my brother's wedding, I feel the need to get everything off my chest. I apologize for the inconvenience. In order to provide some background, my relationship with my younger brother, Tyler, has always been a bit problematic. Not only is he charming and accomplished, but he is also quite excellent at portraying the role of the golden kid. I've always been the one that keeps to myself. Someone who was responsible for planning, fixing, and helping to pay for things when their parents were unable to do so. And yet, for some reason, I've always been nothing more than a mere background noise to the highlight reels of everyone else. Tyler and I were never really close when we were younger. As a child, he was the type of person who would break things and then blame me for them, and I would be the one to take the blame in order to maintain peace. I remember my parents heaving a sigh and shaking their heads, saying things like, "He's still learning, Adrian, you're older, become the example." Yes, I did it. When he was only 17 years old, he stole my car and wrecked the side of it when he was backing out of a party truck. I was the one who paid for the insurance. Our parents were not informed by me. In addition, I was the one who rescued him from jail when he contacted me from jail when he was 21 years old because he had been arrested attempting to shoplift cologne for his girlfriend. Once more, there is quiet. One more time, peacekeeper. When we fast forward to the present day, we find that Tyler is going to marry a woman whose name is the Marissa. I would be lying if I said that we ever really clicked despite the fact that we have met a few times over the course of the past 2 years. She is the kind of person who speaks with her eyes half lit, giving the impression that she is already finding anything you are saying to be boring. I was always dressed to the nines, and I was constantly looking across the room to see if somebody more impressive had entered. At one point, she referred to my job in logistics as cute. I have maintained my distance from you. In spite of this, I said yes when I received the invitations to the wedding. I went so far as to assist Tyler with some planning, and I suggested a fantastic caterer that I had previously collaborated with through my company. He ended up using them. I had no idea that I would be the best man or anything else. It's not that I'm delusional, but I figured I'd at least get a seat at a great table and maybe a few moments to feel like I was a part of the family during that time. The couple chose to have their wedding at this breathtaking location in the countryside, which had string lights strung across tall oak beams and a tiny lake that sparkled in the background. A very fable-like narrative. This is the ideal Instagram post. I arrived early with a gift that was wrapped, which was a set of decanters that had their initials and the date of their wedding etched on them. Not only was it elegant, but it was also not flamboyant. Something that they could retain for a long time. At the welcome table, where I checked in, a young lady who was carrying a clipboard and a headset smiled at me with a firm expression. "If you are, is that you, Adrian?" I gave a slight nod. A slight frown appeared on her face as she gazed at her bedding. "It has been noted that you are a +1. I blinked my eyes. "I am sorry. What is it?" "Due to the fact that you are listed under +1s, we have arranged seating close to the entrance to the kitchen, by the foldouts. Although it would have been different if you had brought someone with you, the fact that you are so low caused my stomach to plummet instead. My name is his brother." The girl became very still. "I see. I truly apologize. There is an error in that here. Permit me to." On the other hand, Marissa herself swooped in just as she was about to steal away. The perfect dress in whites. Makeup look flawless. Glamorous and icy smile. "Oh, you, Adrian." According to her, she drew out my name as if it had left a sour taste in her mouth. "That you were able to make it." When it came to the seating, I informed the planner. "Do I have your permission?" Just a few difficult decisions needed to be made in terms of space. Her gaze caught mine. "It was you who led me to the kitchen." Suddenly, she let out a chuckle. "In the kitchen, not at all. Very close to it. Do you realize that it is only for those who have a +1? On the other hand, technically speaking, you are not a member of the wedding party. Therefore we had to give priority to seating for our immediate family members and close friends. Do you not have any resentment?" I turned my gaze away from her and toward the reception area. Tables that are adorned with luxurious linens and candles that are suspended from the ceiling. There were people laughing and drinking champagne in abundance. My uncle, who hadn't communicated with Tyler in 6 years, was seated in the exact middle of the room. One of my cousins, Ryan, who was caught stealing from Grandma's handbag at one point, was seated comfortably. And then I encountered her. Laughing with a glass of Prosecco, my ex-girlfriend Tessa is seated 2 tables away from the sweetheart table that the pair has reserved for themselves. When we were dating, it had been 5 years. We were introduced by Tyler. After we broke up, I learned that they continued to communicate with each other. It should come as no surprise that she had a seat. There is no doubt that Marissa was aware of where I was gazing. The answer is yes, we did invite Tessa. The friendship between her and Tyler has lasted, and she has always been very supportive. Do you not mind if I disturb you? No words were spoken by me. Simply said, I gave a slow nod. I made my way toward the chair that folded out and was designated for me. It was said in an embarrassing manner at the end of a small table, directly near to a door that swung open and closed, and servers were rushing in and out, brushing past guests and apologizing with full trays of food. It was loud, it was hot, and it smelled like fish and rosemary that had been burned. There was a brief pause that I took. It's only a moment. I found myself watching as the music began. They came in as a couple. The audience applauded. While they were walking past Tessa's table, I noticed that Tyler was whispering something to her, and Tessa smiled back, perhaps with a bit too much warmth. As I watched, my present was pushed to the side, where it was overlooked in favor of a rising stack of other cardboard boxes. Then I got to my feet. After making my way back to the table, I picked up the decanter box and then started strolling in the direction of the outside door. When Marissa turned around and noticed me as I was approaching the dance floor, she yelled out, "Wait, where are you going?" while I was walking by. I halted my movement and gently turned around. With precisely the right amount of silence, I was able to hear the very last part of my response. The winner was Plus. A few folks let out a gasp. Someone must have laughed at that. It didn't matter to me. My gift in hand, I made a beeline for the entrances of the building. I wasn't going to storm out of the room. Slowly, calmly, and deliberately, I moved on. In my opinion, that is what added insult to injury for them. Upon arriving in the parking lot, I became aware of footsteps coming from behind me. This is Tyler. When I caught up with him, he was jogging after me, his jacket billowing behind him, and his mouth moving, but he was stuck for words. Hey, wait a second, Adrian. Which one was that? Is there a reason you leave? Why don't you try? The wedding is for me. I pivoted my body and faced him. You allowed her to perch me next to the kitchen. He was hesitant. It was not the case. I had no idea about that. Her work was on the chart. To put it simply, I was thinking, look, it's not a big deal, is it? I gave a slight shake of my head. What's the big deal? Rather than giving your own brother a seat, you gave Tessa a better seat. He appeared to be in a state of discomfort as he scratched the back of his neck. Man, we are not attempting to exclude you from this. It's simply that Marissa wanted to know specific people right away. There was no strain in her mind. Tension is present. I said again, do you mean that you imply that I am present in the same room as your former acquaintance who dated your brother? He chose not to respond. What is that hush? The moment when something within me broke was that moment. On the other hand, it might have come back again. Neither did I yell. The gift was not thrown away, and I did not make any nasty remarks. The only thing I did was turn around, open my car, and get inside. During the time that I was moving away, I noticed that he was standing in the gravel, half waving and half astonished, as if he was unsure of whether he should be surprised or embarrassed. Even yet, that was just the beginning of the actual fallout that was to come. It took me some time before I went home. I drove around aimlessly for a bit with the windows down, and the cool air did a much better job of preventing me from completely losing my cool than anything else could have. It was at this peaceful overlook on the outskirts of town that I found myself. It is the kind of place where you can see the lights of the city reaching out like fireflies sprinkled on black velvet. I parked my car, sat down in silence, and just waited for everything to calm down. In addition to the years spent getting married. Considering that I had been treated like a disposable extra in a movie that starred everyone else but me, the favoritism, the manipulation, and the way I had been handled. During that period of silence, I came to a conclusion about something. I had decided that I would no longer keep quiet. For the sake of maintaining the status quo, I was not going to continue to put up with the disrespect. That evening, I did not respond to any of Tyler's texts that he sent. Alternatively, the ones that will be the following morning. It was Marissa's message that stated, "Hey, I'm sorry about the confusion that occurred yesterday. I really hope you are not angry anymore. So, let's go on, shall we?" My laptop was open, but I did not respond to the message. You see, I work in the field of event organizing and logistics. Planning delivery routes and schedules is not the only thing I do. In the case of large occurrences, I am responsible for crisis management, vendor interactions, and back-end tracking respectively. Is it one of my most recent customers? Tyler had utilized the services of a catering firm for the wedding. That to which I had alluded, whom I had assisted in the expansion of their firm. I then made a courteous phone call to Nancy, who is in charge of catering. After the wedding, she had already expressed her gratitude to me in a heartfelt manner for the connection, and she was both kind and efficient. The truth was revealed to her by me. I experienced a sense of disdain to the fact that I was not merely a plus one. In addition, I mentioned that I was going to be reassessing whether or not I would be able to continue recommending her services in the future. There was a little pause in her silence. Then she made a statement that stayed with me for a long time. Everything had to be done in a hurry on that particular day. In addition to underpaying the deposit, they altered the guest list by 50% 3 days before the event. To tell you the truth, we would not have been able to pull it off if you hadn't assisted us with the logistics. I'm sorry that you were dealt with in such a manner. The only thing I required was to hear that. Due to the fact that this indicated that there were weaknesses. There are also contracts, leverage, and receipts. I did not immediately go nuclear on myself. Well, that's not my thing. I'm more of a man that takes things slowly. Therefore, I began with a modest amount. To begin, I immediately canceled the bespoke order that I had placed for their wedding present. I had not only given them the decanter, it was more than that. In addition to that, I had made arrangements for a crystal glassware set that was intended to be delivered to their flat the following week. It wasn't just that I canceled it. I changed its course. For my own use. Assumed that I might as well take use of the quality Scotch glasses. After that, I made a low-key phone call to the wedding photographer, who is among my other close friends. She had taken breathtaking photographs at the event, and she typically provided large discounts to her friends and family members in exchange for referrals. In the event that she offered that pricing to Tyler and Marissa, I informed her that I would no longer be suggesting her to other people. Without delay, she grasped the concept. I was removing threats from the situation. In a low voice. Without a doubt. But the moment that really made a difference was when I received an email from Tyler approximately a week later. "Only need help," was written in the subject line. One of his requests was for a favor. Old school. It would appear that he and Marissa were making preparations to extend their honeymoon. Despite the fact that Marissa's affluent uncle had given them a trip to Bali for 3 weeks as a gift, they had run into problems with their passports and were now attempting to schedule express renewals at the 11th hour. Plus the ability to rebook overseas flights. Additionally, villa transfers are included. As said by Tyler, "You are the only person I have faith in to fix this entire mess. You are quite skilled in situations like this one. Kindly, you man. There will be no apology. The events that took place at the wedding are not mentioned. Help me out, please." I was fixated on the screen for a considerable amount of time. What followed was that I opened a draft and wrote, "Hey, Tyler. I would be delighted to be of assistance. However, it is regrettable that this +1 does not accept reservations any longer. All the best." Then I decided not to send it. And not because I had a change of heart. Recently, I came to a realization that is more satisfying. It wasn't necessary for me to say anything. Instead of responding to the email, I forwarded it to Angela, an old colleague of mine who is responsible for handling urgent trip issues for high-profile clients. No, I did not ask her to assist me. I requested her to put them on the blacklist. It was minuscule. I will own up to that. However, it hit the mark. I'd spent years being the one who fixed things, the one who provided unobtrusive assistance to a family that never paid attention to the burden I carried. I let everything fall to the ground this time. 4 days later, I received a text message from Tyler. He sounded less like a groom and more like a man who was on the verge of unraveling this time. Did you advise Angela that she should not assist us? It was mentioned that you are a non-client blocker, according to her expression. Why are you so upset, man? Our situation in Singapore is hopeless. Several flights were cancelled. We will not receive a refund from the villa. Marissa is really losing her mind. Which issue are you having? I chose not to respond. Marissa's name appeared on my screen while I was out to dinner with a friend that evening. I was surprised to see her name. At this moment, she got in touch. It rang for a while. A voicemail was left by her. When it comes to Tyler, I don't know what your problem is, but he's completely losing it. You really need to mature if this is about the wedding being discussed. It was not our intention to make you feel negatively. Your argument has been presented. Stop acting like a child and go ahead and repair it. And I couldn't help but giggle at it. It is spoken aloud. Exactly at the table where the meal is being served. It was not fixed by me. I did not give a response. For the time being, I did nothing except sit back and wait because I was aware of something that they were not. The actual repercussions had not even begun yet. I mentioned the invoice for the catering, don't you remember? Which of them did not pay them adequately? In the event that a client submits false guest counts, alters dietary demands after the deadline, and fails to remit full payment within 14 days, it has been determined that a breach of contract clause has been triggered. This clause carries a penalty of 25%. As for Nancy, she had grown weary of trying to track them down. So she went ahead and lodged an official complaint with the venue, which resulted in a domino effect of additional costs. This was also done by the bartender, who was compensated inadequately. And all of a sudden, Tyler and Marissa were not only dealing with the aftermath of a failed honeymoon anymore. They were facing the possibility of incurring late fees, fines, and security deposits that were withheld, totaling several $1,000s. The reason behind this is that they attempted to take shortcuts and exclude me. Not only that, but I hadn't even begun to play the last card on my sleeve. It was almost 2 weeks after the disastrous honeymoon that I began to receive tags in photographs from the wedding that were posted on social media. Beautiful wedding, unforgettable night was the caption that was attached to an album that was uploaded by a distant relative. Congratulations to Marissa and Tyler. The reason I clicked was because I was curious, and I mean this in the most true sense possible. The experience was similar to seeing a highlight reel of my own erasure. There were 83 photographs. Near the entrance to the kitchen, you could make out a fuzzy image of the back of my head in exactly one of them. One of the family portraits did not include me. Neither of the toast videos featured me. There was no mention of me in the caption that expressed gratitude to everyone who contributed to the day's charm. However, are you aware of the person who was mentioned? This is Tessa. Annotated. I am commenting. I like it. Now, it seemed to be deliberate. Not simply a lack of planning. It was as if Marissa had made the decision that I was not significant, and Tyler had concurred with her. It was at that moment that I made the decision that I would no longer abstain from leaving discreetly. That mirror was going to be held up in front of them so that they could see what they had become. I published a post. The only one. It's easy. It is true. A slideshow of photographs that I had taken on my phone as things were being set up behind the scenes. Me altering the numbers on the table. Making arrangements for the bouquets on the flooring. Attending to the caterer's needs. In an email that was sent to a group of people, I included a screenshot of the seating chart that Marissa's planner had emailed to me by accident. In the email, my name was included alongside the name of one of Tyler's brothers. Quite literally, an afterthought, enclosed in parentheses. After that, I wrote, participated in the planning of the wedding. Located the location of the event. Received a discount from the caterer. I arrived early to assist with the setup. A +1 was seated near to the kitchen in the dining area. My bride told me that I ought to comprehend. I then quietly departed. 2 weeks later, they made another request for assistance. This time, I gave my refusal. It seems that this makes me a petty person. In the limited social network that we had, the post became rather viral. It did not come as a surprise to me. However, it was shared by everybody. Commented on. Contact was made. The old friends from high school. Former co-workers and colleagues. Members of the same family. There was a message from my cousin Lauren. As stated, I had a feeling that something had gone wrong on that particular day. You appeared to be in severe discomfort. My apologies. Not everyone received a response from me, but I read each and every word. It had a reassuring effect. However, the sympathy was not the only thing that was important. After that, that was what took place. Another phone call came from Tyler 2 days after the post was made. The call was left on my voicemail. This time, he did not come across as angry. He sounded anxious to me. "What's up? I saw that Marissa's mother read your post. Now Marissa is really losing her mind. She is under the impression that you are attempting to tarnish her reputation. The man who is her boss follows you. This is what she is saying: we require you to remove it." During my time at the gym, I went ahead and listened to the message. 2 times I played it. After that, once more while I was walking to my car. I failed to provide a response. As an alternative, I created a second post. Requested that my most recent post be removed. The truth, it would appear, is detrimental to the reputation of a person. If it wasn't completely accurate, I would erase it. In the interest of maintaining appearances, I will not be silenced. For the sake of other people's comfort, I spent far too many years trying to make myself smaller. In no other case. There are no names included. There is no hatred. Just being honest. That was the game changer. Opinions can be debated by individuals. It is not possible for them to delete screenshots or seating charts. That particular post. It garnered more attention than the initial one did. Despite the fact that Marissa's supervisor did not make a public statement, a friend of ours shared a screenshot with me. A message sent on the company's Slack channel that reminds employees that their perceptions are a reflection of their character and that they should maintain respectful personal conduct even when they are not at work. After that, the fallout started developing in a rapid manner. To begin, I received a phone call from Marissa's mother. There is no voicemail. An all-out call. I did not pick up the phone, but she left a 3-minute diatribe about how this was detrimental to the reputation of their family and how you will come to regret creating a scene over a chair at some point in the future. On top of a chair. The information that I required was provided to me by that. They were still unable to comprehend it. There was no chair involved. This was the culmination of years of contempt that eventually broke through the dam. After that, the group texts arrived. An attempt was made by Tyler to mitigate the harm by establishing a family group chat. It is time to put an end to this confusion and include all members of our personal and extended families. The first message he sent. "What's up, everyone? I just wanted to address the current situation that came out on social media. On the whole, I believe that things have been exaggerated. To move forward, let us all make an effort." For a whole minute, I didn't move my eyes from the message. After that, I gave my response. Excited to move on to the next step. On the other hand, only when individuals act responsibly. In the event that they refer to consequences as drama. Next, my aunt jumped in and said, "I have always been curious about the reason you were sitting in the back. From what we could tell, you had offered to assist with the cooking or something similar." Another relative chimed in, "To tell you the truth, I was under the impression that you had left because you were sick or something. Unbeknownst to me, you were handled in such a manner." Within a matter of minutes, the story that Tyler and Marissa had built started to fall apart. Tyler, on the other hand, exited the group chat. My access was denied on every platform by Marissa. However, this is the point where everything comes full circle. About 3 weeks later, I received a letter that had been handwritten and mailed to me. In addition to being thick and cream-colored, the envelope had a little smear on it. There is no reply address. Included in the package was a message that read, "Adrian, I have been contemplating a great deal in regard to everything." That time, I was unable to see it, but today I can see it. Because I believed that maintaining peace was more important than advocating for my brother, I gave Marissa the authority to make decisions. I had a mistake. I made you feel like you were not there during the most significant event of my life, despite the fact that you have always had my back. Although I do not anticipate being pardoned, I would like to express my gratitude for everything that you have done. Also, I apologize for anything that I failed to do. I have no excuses, Tyler. There are no requirements. So that's it. Putting the letter back in the envelope, I placed it on my desk and then put it away. Not yet, I have responded. Not at this time. Because there are times when the most effective form of retribution is not any form of retribution at all. It is allowing people to sit in the reality that they have constructed without you and arriving to the realization that they were the ones who were keeping the roof up the entire time. In addition, I am not going to continue to hold it up this time. Initially, I did not respond to the letter that Tyler had sent. I let it to remain there for a week, covering it with a paperweight and keeping it on my desk. It wasn't that I didn't value the apology. I did acknowledge it. Yes, I did. In point of fact, a portion of me had been waiting my entire life to hear Dad say that he was wrong without the typical deflections, without the escape routes that he always clung to, such as, "But you're too sensitive," or, "I didn't mean it like that." However, I was also aware that this was not simply about a wedding. Even a chair wasn't the only thing at stake here. Being the backup plan was something that had been going on for years, decades, in fact. The person who solves problems. The emotional retaliation that was given. Due to the fact that I had spent so much time playing the position of the reliable brother, I was completely unaware of the extent to which I had allowed myself to be pushed down in order to make other people feel comfortable. At this point, the silence I had been keeping was not a sign of resentment. Clarity was obtained. It was necessary for me to make a decision regarding the kind of romance I desired moving forward. This is not only with Tyler, but with the entirety of my family as well. What followed was the arrival of the festive season. In the same manner as every year, Thanksgiving was celebrated at my parents' home. From the turkey to the stuffing to the entire spread, they had gone all out. Both Tyler and Marissa were invited, which came as a complete surprise to me. Alternatively, I could claim that I was still invited, because I was beginning to become aware of how infrequently I had been the one who was actually included throughout the course of the years. I hadn't made up my mind about going, but my mother called me a week before the event and told me that it would mean a great deal if you were there. To Adrian. There is no drama. I guarantee it. Therefore, I responded with a yes. To behave in an impolite manner. Not to maintain the status quo. On the other hand, because I was no longer skipping over difficult topics. Right from the moment I went inside the house that afternoon, I had a strange feeling. This is not quite tense, but at a lower volume than usual. They acknowledged me by nodding their heads in agreement. I smiled in an odd manner at the tail end. In the living area, Tyler was assisting with the arrangement of seats. When he saw me, he did not move at all, and then he gave a firm wave. There was no sign of Marissa. After some time had passed, my mother mumbled that she had other plans for this year. To tell you the truth, this most likely meant that she was unable to confront the individuals who had the ability to see through her. After that, we sat down to eat. The majority of the dinner was spent with Tyler being silent, picking at his food and occasionally laughing too hard at someone else's joke. From time to time, he seemed to be looking at me as if he were waiting for a sign, a signal that everything was back to normal. But I did not hand it over to him. While folks were lingering around after dessert and football was playing softly in the background, Tyler approached me in the kitchen. He was curious about what I was doing. On our own we were. "Thank you for coming," he added in a small voice. I gave a slight nod. "For the letter, I am grateful." He gave out an expression of relief, as if that was the perfect way to break the ice. Everything I mentioned was true. What a fool I was. It was my fault that things got so out of hand. "You did it." I gave my response. I wasn't going to try to disguise the truth. All he needed was to hear it spoken out loud. Even though he winced, he did not argue. I had the thought that perhaps things could return to normal. I was attracted to him. "Tyler, please explain what you mean by that." "Because I considered normal to be your backup, I will explain. It was because you were the one you called when you needed a bailout, but you did not call him when you was promoted. Being seated behind the kitchen as if I were an afterthought at your wedding was the experience that I had." It was a sigh. "It's true. Right now, I am aware of that, and I do not wish for things to continue in that manner." I responded that you have the right to want something, but you have to work for it. A second chance is not something that I am giving out like candy. You can't treat someone with disdain for a number of years and then resolve the issue with a single apology. Even as he looked down, he nodded. What should I do then? I am crossing my arms. You are present. On a consistent basis. Your focus shifts away from yourself and everything else. Without being questioned, you accept responsibility for something. Additionally, you should quit expecting me to act as the savior each time your universe experiences a breakdown. Once more, he nodded, more slowly than before. I am able to work on that. I gave a shrug. But we'll see. The matter was not pursued any further by him. Didn't make an effort to alleviate the tension by hugging me or telling me a joke. For the first time in his life, he did not attempt to get out from under the weight of his faults. Rather, he allowed them to hang in the air. Over the course of the subsequent several months, an intriguing event took place. In fact, Tyler made an effort. To begin, he was modest. Messages sent without any request for anything. Okay, so how is work going? Here we are. I'm just thinking about you over there. They did not feel too sentimental. Rather, they were consistent. After that, on a Saturday, he arrived at my apartment with a bag of croissants and a cup of coffee waiting for him. He said, "There is no reason," while holding up the bag. I simply wanted to hang out. We observed a game together as a group. Work was the topic of conversation. Not a single mention of the wedding was made by him. When faced with a catastrophe, did not seek assistance. Existed solely in my presence. As a brother, it was not a reconciliation straight out of a fairy tale. In the beginning, I didn't trust him, but after a while, circumstances changed. As time went on, I gradually gave myself permission to finally meet him halfway. Marissa, on the other hand, she never inquired about it. I was informed through the word of mouth that she was dissatisfied with the way things had turned out. There were a few social connections that she lost as a result of the repercussions from the wedding, particularly among our mutual acquaintances who witnessed how she handled me. Now, she had a reputation, not because I had given it to her, but because she had earned it. In the spring, Tyler and Marissa made the announcement that they were going to be renting space. In the process of reevaluating the relationship, they are not officially split. I wasn't taken aback by it. According to what I was told, things had been tight ever since Bali, and it came to my attention that my refusal to be their doormat had evidently pushed them to confront a great deal of fractures in their foundation. During lunch one day, Tyler said, "I think I got so caught up in impressing everyone that I forgot how to just be real." He did not go into further depth about exactly what he meant by this statement. It was the version of me that aligned with her Instagram account that she adored. The individual who is consuming cold pizza while wearing a sweatshirt at midnight. I gave a simple nod. Despite the fact that it was not my place to weigh in, I was relieved that he was seeing it now. On the occasion of his birthday, Tyler extended an invitation to me to attend a small backyard picnic. There will be no tuxedos, centerpieces, or seating charts arranged. A cooler full of inexpensive beverages, a group of buddies, and burgers. It was then that he handed me the tongs and told me that I was on grill duty. "Are you sure about that?" The gesture was not particularly spectacular, but it had the impression of being genuine. And as the night drew to a close, he raised his bottle and said to Adrian, "Thank you for demonstrating to me what a brother ought to be, even though I did not deserve it." A speech was not delivered by me. What I did was simply clink bottles with him and tell him that it had been long enough. Everyone laughed at me. Even though the moment had passed, something resolved itself within that laughing. Pretending that the past did not occur is not the same thing as forgiving someone. It comes down to choose who is deserving of the next step in your life. Regarding the wedding decanter, I continue to store it in my cabinet. The reminder is no longer a source of discomfort. It's nothing but glass, and it's gorgeous and sturdy, and it's finally being put to use in the way that it came to be. Sort of like how I am.